Hello and welcome to Lesson 6 of our Absolute Beginner series for Microsoft Excel. If you haven't already completed the earlier lessons, I highly encourage you to do that by clicking the playlist link in the top right hand corner of the screen. In today's lesson, we're going to focus on conditional formatting, which is a really useful tool for helping us highlight important data, making our data much more visual and easy to read. So let's take a look at our learning objectives in a little bit more detail. We're going to talk about a short overview of conditional formatting, what it is and how it's used, what it's useful for. Specifically, we look at the quick analysis format options, looking at greater than options and data bars. And we'll also take a bit of a look at custom conditional formats when we want to set formats on non-numerical values. Today we'll be using the registration sheet that we developed in earlier lessons, so go ahead and load that up and join me again when you're ready. So let's begin just by cleaning up our data a little so that we can really focus in on what it is we want to look at. So we'll start just by zooming the screen out a little bit so that we can see what we've got. So just by clicking the minus sign here in the bottom right. There we can see from what we remember last time, we've got these extra rows here where we filled in some extra data. Let's just keep these things that are here in the larger rows. So if we select row 27, and if you hold Control, Shift and the down arrow, it will select all the way to the bottom of the table, and you can just right click on any of those rows and select delete, and it will remove everything there. Click anywhere on the sheet, hold down the Control and press the up arrow and again, and that will return us to the top of our table. There we go. So today we are going to focus on some conditional formatting. So what conditional formatting is really useful for is helping us highlight data in a variety of ways to make it stand out. So if you wanted to see, for example, who had the best test scores over a certain value, or if we wanted to see a range of the test scores and how they were placed between like 0 and 100%, then there are some simple conditional formatting tools that help us do that. The first example that we're going to look at is how to highlight data above a certain value. So let's say that in our test scores column, column E, the pass mark was 80%. So we wanted to know very quickly which students scored more than 80%. So the first thing that we would do would be to highlight everything in that column. So again, if you click in the top cell, press Control, Shift and the down arrow, it will highlight all of the data. Now you'll notice down at the bottom right of the table, we see a small icon appear here. We've seen this before, which is the quick analysis icon. And if we click on that, we can then access a number of formatting tools under the formatting tab here. The first one that we're going to look at is the one that's called greater than, which is for along. And if we left click on that, you can see actually it's already done some highlighting, but we're going to put in some rules to tell it what to do. So if you left click on it, it'll bring this prompt box up here. So what it's asking us is format cells that are greater than. So we want to highlight any results that are greater than 80. So let's type in 80 into this box here. And to me, it doesn't make sense to have this as a good value in red. So you have some default options by clicking on the down arrow here, and one of which is to have a green fill with dark green text. You can put custom formatting in by selecting the custom format option at the bottom of this selector box, but let's just put the green fill with dark green text. And then click OK. So you can see now very quickly, it's really easy to see which results are higher than 80 because they are highlighted in green. Let's go ahead now and just clear that formatting by again going down to the quick analysis icon and just selecting clear format, and that removes anything that's already there. The next thing that we're going to look at is, let's say that you wanted to highlight the progression between two values. So for example, here we've got a score that's possible between 0 and 100% for this test. So we wanted to see how far along that progress bar every value was. And there's a quick format option to do that called data bars. So again, once again, if we click on the quick analysis icon here, and we select this one to the left, which is called data bars, you can see there before you click on it, you do get a preview. It's in a nice blue color, but it's not really clear whether it's doing it as a percentage. What it's actually doing is it's taking the highest value that's currently on there, which I think is 94, and the lowest value, and then it's showing progression along those. But what we want it to do is to show it on a scale of 0 to 100. So if we click on data bars, and it just puts the default formatting options on now. But what we're going to do is we're going to change those to make it specific to a value between 0 and 100. And we can do that with the conditional formatting section in the ribbon. So if you move up to the top, slightly right of center, we see this conditional formatting option. If you click on the small down arrow, you can see here we've got data bars, color scales, icon sets. So if we hover over data bars and then just go down to where it says more rules. So we can see here already it's got the format style as data bar, but right now it's in as type automatic and automatic. So it's making choices about what values it wants to do. But we want it to specifically say, let's make the data bar between a value of 0 and 100 and show me a representation of that. So we here do that, we would change the type here from automatic to number, and we would put a value in of 0. It actually already defaulted at that. And the maximum value, we would do the same. We would put in a number, and we could change that to 100. Let's change the color from this blue to, let's make it a shade of green. And we can click OK. And there we go. And now we see quite obviously that 94 is almost 100, so that bar is almost filled. 19 is way down here. So we can see a good representation there of how much we've progressed between two values. So this could be a percentage, like as I say in this case. It could be well, it could be whatever you like, but it's a great way of visually showing progression between two values. So those two quick formatting options that we've looked at are great for when you're using a numerical value. But what if, for example, in column D, we wanted to highlight who did attend with a yes and who didn't attend with a no? Well, we couldn't do that using a numerical value or a greater than. We'd have to specify whether the cell had yes in it or whether the cell had no in it. And we can do that doing some specifics within the conditional formatting options. So once again, if we just click where the conditional formatting icon is, we're not going to click on the down arrow this time, we're just going to click the actual icon in the ribbon. And this time we're going to select new rule. So there's a number of things that we are selecting here, but whenever you're doing something that's very specific, what you want to do is to say the second option, which is format only cells that contain. And here it gives us edit the rule description. And what we want is we want to only format cells with, for example, that have the word yes in or the word no in. So if we change this from where it says cell value, you could change it to specific text, or you could have a date or blanks, but we'll leave it on cell value for now. But we don't want it between two values. What we want to do is have it equal to a certain value. So if we click on the down arrow here, we can pick equal to. And then we would simply type in yes here. Or you could click on a cell that had yes in it. We can set the format by clicking on the format button here. So let's set it to this nice green color here from the fill. You could also put a border, change the font, or change what type it was. But let's just put a fill on for now, keep it simple. We'll fill it in this nice green color here. And click OK. And OK again. And there we go. So we've highlighted all the cells that have a yes in with green. And now let's just repeat that for the no's and give them a different color. So once again, let's click on conditional formatting. Now what you could do here is you could select new rule again, or you can select manage rules. I'm just going to show you the manage rules screen so that you can see what it looks like. So there we go. So the manage rules pop-up tells us about all of the rules that we've already set for this column. So notice, yeah, it says this applies to all of column D. So you can see it's given a specific reference with the $sign on. Now you might not want that to happen and you could set a range here if you wanted to, but we can just simply add now a new rule from here instead of clicking the other new rule option. Once again, we select format only cells that contain. We'll change the between to equal to, and this time we'll put no as our criteria. And this time we will format it as a red color. Click OK and OK again. And now it gives us a summary now. So on that column D, if it says no, it's going to be formatted red. If it says yes, it's going to be formatted green. And we click apply. And then OK. And there we go. So now we can very quickly see who attended and who didn't. Using that same kind of formatting, you could set different criteria for which class they were in, or perhaps you had a letter grade instead of a test score, so an A to E scale, for example, and you could set different colours for each of those letters, simply by adding new rules into the conditional formatting that we saw there before. So I hope what you can see that is conditional formatting provides us with a great way to highlight important data on our sheet to allow our eyes to quickly focus in on it and see differences very clearly between data. The different types of conditional formatting rules allow us to easily highlight different types of data in different ways. It helps bring your data to life in presentations that you may want for your business, or simply draw your own attention to important things for personal data. Let's take a little minute to review what we learned today. We learned what conditional formatting was and how it helps us highlight important data. We took a specific look at the quick analysis format options, and we looked at data bars and we looked at the greater than option. We also took a look at the general conditional formatting option where we could set specific rules around data that we had, and we showed an example of that using the text of highlighting yes versus no. I hope you found today's content useful, and if you did enjoy it, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.